So the severe lack of morality in this country, and of course the severe lack of common sense. Yes, I can show the evidence from out of state because it shows motive. Now, when there is somebody who is a sex offender, which is what people want to assume and pretend that I am a sex offender, there are laws that make it illegal to target a sex offender. However, I am not a sex offender. I've never been charged with a sex offense. I am not on any sex offender registry, so I don't get the protection of a sex offender. Meanwhile, Robert Warnick is a registered sex offender in the state of Nebraska, charged with sexual assault against a child. So the cops in Chapel, Nebraska will protect him despite the fact that he stalked me. He threatened me on more than one occasion, and he assaulted me. And they did everything that they could to protect him when he is the one who committed the crimes. Lisa Green has not messaged me back. They have not sent me anything to my email yet. They probably won't until Friday afternoon after court is over. I cannot possibly go through all of this. I cannot do the stuff that I need to do with the printer to print things off. I can't do this by myself. I do not have the computer skills to do so. I only have YouTube because Jerry Sparks helped me to set it up in Montana in 2018. I only have a Facebook because somebody helped me to set it up. I only have email because people helped me to set it up. I don't know how to do these things. I try. I was able to make one by myself right after I got out of Clearview, and I was stranded in Denver, and I was waiting on Jeff Ritter and Carrie Heller, who took their dear sweet time. And of course, I only had 6 people on my friends list when one of those supposed friends had my account wiped. Now, at least it was on a computer that at the time was recording it. The shirt that I was wearing at the time, it was the shirt that I was wearing when I attempted suicide in January of 2018 to try to protect my loved ones. The police have repeatedly attempted to push me to suicide to hide the fact that they didn't do their jobs, that they threatened, harassed, and intimidated me on more than one occasion. I mean, obviously, the closer it comes to the deadline and the longer people blow me off as if I have a million years to get this done, the worse off I am mentally. Yes, I need a stable environment. I have not had a stable environment since Natalie was killed. Even before Natalie was killed, there was no stable environment. Cindy Taylor was able to get away with the things that she did because Jen Beebe was not doing her job. Jen Beebe was supposed to be the person to advocate for me. Region 1, one of the things that they advertise is that they are an advocacy group. Let me show you something. On this piece of paper from Marcia Estrada, it says Cirrus House Incorporated. Work, it's what we do. Advocacy, employment, housing, and education. The first thing on there is the word advocacy. Right there, advocacy. Marcia Estrada is sort of trying to do what Penny Cooper was supposed to be doing, what Jen Beebe was supposed to be doing. I wouldn't have had that meltdown. I'm sorry, I need to stop calling it a meltdown. I need to call it what it is. It is a mental fucking breakdown from repeated abuse. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke out about abuse, and whenever I say that, people say, well, he was killed, he was assassinated. I'm well aware of that. People are afraid. They are afraid of law enforcement. People's opinion of law enforcement here in McCook is terrible. There's a place called Casey's, it's not far from here. The people there have no faith in law enforcement. Nobody has any faith in law enforcement if they're poor. And then we have two sides to this. We have the poor who are victimized and are not heard because they're poor. And then we have people who adopt the Nazi mentality. The mentality that because a police officer says it, it must be okay. Because a police officer demands it, it must be legal. Every single court in America and every single jail in America, the reason that they choose to victimize the poor is because without bail, they can't defend themselves, and then you can put them in the stockades. You could put them in the human warehouses, the jails, the prisons, the behavioral health units. They're not human beings. Poor people are not people in the United States. Now you can somewhat offset that by having someone who cares enough to become informed and to go in with you. But that's not a happening thing, is it? It's obvious that I'm not going to have help turning this in. I'm not going to have help in person. Mandy Singer is afraid of losing her housing. If she helps me, she's afraid of being targeted by the McCook police. If she helps me. The man who was going to go in with me, he's afraid for my safety. Yeah, sometimes you gotta make sacrifices for the better good of humanity. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, I may not get there with you. He still spoke out knowing that there was a good chance that he was going to be assassinated. Do you know how many times he was beaten, stabbed, and shot before he was killed? Look it up. Yes, I have to be afraid of every police department in America because of the assault by Waylon Lolatai. But nobody helped me to get those body cameras. No public pretender would help me. None of them. They wanted to threaten, harass, and intimidate me as well, and coach me in what to say so that they wouldn't get in trouble. To tell me that they can't defend me because they have overwhelming caseloads. Meanwhile, I couldn't record it. Very well, now could I? Not being incarcerated. When I got out, I sure as hell recorded them. Meanwhile, by sending me into a mental breakdown, my communication skills dropped drastically. And the more they talk over me, the more my communication skills diminish. The more difficult it is for me to even say what I need to say, because I know that they're just going to start talking to me like this and talking over me like Lisa Green did. She didn't care about a goddamn thing I had to say. She had her own ideas about things. Oh, I appreciate that you're autistic. No, you don't. Well, actually, rather she does, because that's something that she can play on. Of course she appreciates it, because then she can say, oh, he's mentally ill. He's mentally ill. We tried to help him and he denied our help. No. I'm not denying actual help. I'm being denied actual help. Trying to get a hold of this woman for 2 weeks to get actual help. To get her to understand. I need someone to look at this in person, and I need someone to go in with me for my own safety. For my own safety. Look at how many people are aware of how unsafe it is to go talk to the police. When I had to talk to Deuel County Sheriff's Department, I did it over at the Catholic Church out in public. So they were afraid to break the law. So they were afraid to assault me or possibly even shoot me. I can't go in to talk to McCook Police Department. I have no one to go do that with me. Malcolm X spoke out as well, and he was assassinated. My story being told, my story being seen, my story being heard. It shows why law enforcement needs to be monitored. There needs to be civilian oversight, especially in the case of somebody who is called mentally ill, no matter what the mental illness. Whether they're autistic or schizophrenic or bipolar, whether they have borderline personality disorder, whether they're addicted to drugs or suffering from PTSD, and PTSD is suffering, whether they have social anxiety disorder or severe anxiety attacks, or even worse, panic attacks, or even worse, meltdowns, and it gets worse than meltdowns as well. Although we should call them what they are. When an autistic person has a meltdown, it is a mental breakdown. This is how we are treated. These laws that are supposed to protect us, just like the laws that are supposed to protect black people extra. These laws that are supposed to protect the disabled are supposed to protect us extra. But they don't protect us extra because people can simply say, oh, he's mentally ill, and you no longer hear a word they have to say. While I am having mental breakdowns over abuse, Missy Bruce had a mental breakdown over the fact that I told the truth. I'm not allowed to be angry, but Jamie Curtis is allowed to be angry because I told the truth, because she got busted in a lie. A lot of these people got busted in a lie. Kara Johnson Miles got busted in a lie. She was busted by Shannon Alvarado. And even with that, Kara Johnson Miles was allowed to slander my name in court from Texas. And I wasn't even allowed to see that until court was over. I was able to glance at my file because my public pretender had left my file in front of me when she went to go talk to someone else, and the bailiff came over and took it from me. I was able to read some of the things that were said about me.